Midsummer Day 1619, in the little church of Powton, Oxfordshire, John Hampden married Elizabeth Simeon, with whom he was in love. John Hampden, aged 25, wealthy landowner and Member of Parliament, would end his days at 49 years, defending the freedom of the people. Elizabeth would bear her husband 9 children, and theirs would be a perfect marriage. When she died after 15 years together, John Hampden would not live at Hampden House again, for he could not bear it. And so John Hampden led the country life at Hampden House, ancestral home of the Hampdens in Buckinghamshire. A son, daughter, and devoted wife were his gifts from God at that time.
First I knew John was at Tame Grammar School. Our boyhood friendship then would survive the years. Arthur Goodwin and John Hampden, together in those happy years, together now in more demanding times. Often John would greet my visits with dismay. My thoughts on king and country would not find much encouragement from such a peaceable man as he. We both served as well as we were able in the Parliament, he for Grampound and I for Chepping Wycombe. The state of monarchy was supreme, so spake our sovereigns, but we were not persuaded. To curb these kingly powers was our purpose, and I was given to bring John Hampden to the same mind. He had much to lose. His wealth and position could mark him out for royal punishment. Charles Stuart, this Scottish prince who knew not how to be or be made a great king. The duties imposed on him by God he fulfilled with a kind of petulant distaste that struck a chill into those around him. Money for ill-advised wars would be the king's claim, and when rightly refused by Parliament, dissolution would be our lot. Then, with no Parliament to consult, the king required a forced loan, to which every subject in the land must contribute. John had weighed these matters carefully. For him, the choice was God or king. The forced loan did not gain his subscription. Thus, one fine summer day, the king sent for Hampden. Vestigia nulla retrorsum, no way back, was the family motto. John Hampden had set his foot upon that way.
Richard Lovelace, cavalier poet of the age, would write of times like these. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. If I have freedom in my love, and in my soul am free, angels alone that soar above enjoy such liberty. I could not love thee, dear, so much, loved I not honour more.
For this demeanour toward the king, he was committed to the Gatehouse, a dank, foul place which stands in the shadow of Westminster Abbey.
Lord Jesus Christ, give me the strength to overcome my present miseries, so that through Thee I may find my true purpose and Thy will.
A year passed, and the king saw fit to end the punishment. John returned to Buckinghamshire and Hampden House. He never after did look like the same man he was before. Shortly after, John Pym and I spoke with Hampden. John Pym, leader of the Parliament at that time. The Ox, we called him, for his speeches were uncommon slow. He and I strengthened Hampden's resolve that there would be no way back. For were we not assailed by yet another kingly imposition? Ship money. At one time, only coastal towns were levied for the keeping of our navy. Now we must all contribute. And would the money build more men-of-war? No, more likely a new walled garden for the king's delight. Then we met secretly at Great Kimble Church. Our aim, to band together the good people of John Hampden's constituency against this iniquitous tax. There, to meet us, representatives of the parish. Hard words passed to and fro, for there were those amongst us who stood to lose their titles and estates. However, total resolve against the king would be our decision. No mythical men-of-war would sail imaginary seas from John Hampden's estates. For this stand, John Hampden once more incurred the king's disfavour, and was summoned to appear before the king's judges.
John Hampden, give us just cause why you refuse to pay your due of 20 shillings ship money.
Will 20 shillings ruin my estates? I think not. But the payment of 20 shillings on the principle it is demanded will make me a slave.
We find you in default and 20 shillings your lawful due.
But the king was not satisfied with this victory, and came to the Parliament House seeking his enemies.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to know the whereabouts of Pym, Heselrigg, Hollis, Strode and Hampden.
May it please your majesty, I had neither eyes to see nor tongue to speak in this place, but as this house is pleased to direct me.
Well, no matter, for I see the birds have flown. I do expect that you shall send them unto me as soon as they return hither. If not, I will seek them myself, for their treason is foul.
The birds had indeed flown. Forewarned of the king's approach, they had made their way from Westminster to the Thames, and thence to the security of the city. It's strange to note how we insensibly slid into the beginning of civil war, by one unexpected accident after another. Thus, from paper combats, we came to the question of raising forces and naming a general and officers of an army.
If I hear but a door creak, I take it to be a drum.
Both sides promise so fair, I cannot see what it is they should fight for.
I am ready to run out of that little valour I have.
These fines and subsidies on both sides will be the ruin of this kingdom and us.
I cannot see but that we are all in the way to be a miserable people.
I have eaten the king's bread and served him well. I will not do so base a thing as to forsake him now.
What of our posterities and estates?
A new tax is upon us, excise, nothing escapes it, nay, not even beer, cider or perry.
If we fight the king 100 times and beat him 99, we shall be hanged.
Who should be Lord General to fight our cause against the king? At first, Essex, then Fairfax, finally Cromwell, Lord Protector of the kingdom. Hampden the dreamer had chosen the winning side, and, unknowingly, his own destiny. Brother would fight brother, father against son. Often men would fight for the highest pay, or even those who paid at all. Prince Rupert, nephew of the king, cared little for England or Englishmen, and his 23 years were little enough to realise what issues were at stake. Oxford was in the king's hands, and Rupert was given to skirmishing in the neighbourhood. At Chalgrove, in the lee of the Cheltenham Hills, we discovered Rupert beating up our outposts. We were together that day, Colonel Hampden's infantry and the cavalry of Colonel Goodwin. Rupert lurked in the wood. It was left to us to flush him out. His cavalry wheeled and prepared to come on. We held our ground and awaited their pleasure. Two bullets, well directed, struck John Hampden's shoulder. Able neither to continue the action nor to dismount, he turned and rode off the field, his head hanging down and resting his hands upon the neck of his horse. Presently I came up with him. At first we thought to reach Powton, still in our hands, but the king's cavalry were abroad, so instead to Tame and our own people. Down the leafy Buckinghamshire lanes we both knew so well. Now, past the grammar school at Tame, where 40 years ago our friendship began. 24 years ago, on such a day, with the cornfields untrampled by war, and the meadows at peace under the heat haze, John Hampden had ridden light-heartedly to Elizabeth at Powton to make the final plans for their wedding. And so John Hampden came to his end, and our grief abounded. It was Midsummer Day, 1643. Next day I wrote to my daughter, "Poor Hampden is dead. I have scarce strength to write the word. Never a kingdom received a greater loss in one subject. Never man a truer and faithfuler friend. I pray let me beg of you a broad black ribbon to hang about my standard. I would we could all lay it to heart, but God takes away the best in us."
Final victory in the English Civil War would go to the parliamentary forces. Charles I would mount the scaffold and follow John Hampden into eternity. Never again would an English monarch seek absolute rule over his subjects.